How's it going, everybody? Moose here. I'm in my garage, just Moose. And I am presently in the middle of finishing up my valve inspection on my 2019 Goldwing Tour DCT. I have put this off for a good year, not doing this because I was worried about the implications of opening up this engine and looking at it. And I don't know why. Background: from when I was in my teens and 20s, I tore engines apart all the times on cars, pulled camshafts in and out, cranks, bearings, didn't matter. I've done all that stuff. I'm not an engine rebuilder by any means, but I know enough to get around and get things done. So doing the valves on this, or not doing the valves, but doing the inspection of the valves, as you can see, this is the driver's side of the bike, left-hand side of the bike, 2, 4, and 6 cylinders. And I'd say the hardest part about this is some of the room you might run into. If you want any pointers on that, keep an eye on the space. I have a few things I'd like to say. On the other side of the bike, on the passenger side, or the right, depending on how you look at it when you're sitting on the bike, it's the right-hand side, there's really no need to remove the crash bar. You can gain access to the tensioner tool, tensioner bolt, and everything, and you're fine. On the left-hand side of the bike, it's a little bit more ominous. You have the horn there, you have the lights if you installed them, of course, and the tensioner bolt is on the bottom of the engine. Let me see if I can show you. See where that light's at? That's the tensioner bolt opening. You take that 8mm bolt out, and you put a tensioner in there for the cam, for the tensioner of the timing chain to tension it, to remove pressure from it so you can check your valves, turn the engine over properly. And that's a little hard to get to with the crash bar or engine casing guard in the way. So I removed it on this side and zip tied the light up to the bike so it wouldn't have the wire hanging there. Took the breather hose off, of course. There's a sensor here I undid. And of course the plug wires. And I'm waiting on new plugs to arrive, so I'm not going to put this all back together right now. I'm going to put the bike back together, but I'm not going to put the spark plugs back in and tighten them down. I'm going to wait for the new plugs to get here. This bike has 34,000 miles on it almost. I think it's within like 300 miles of 34 grand. So I might as well check the plugs while I'm in here. But I'm going to keep them in the holes until they arrive. I ordered them yesterday, so nothing gets in the engine. But there's certain tools you can buy to make this job a little easier. And one of them I didn't use, which is the little wrench, which you could easily get away without this, and have a pair of pliers to turn these adjusters here for the exhaust valves. That's how you adjust them, this little wrench. And they have a little 8mm bolt on there that's a jam nut. Well, and then you turn this and loosen it to adjust the valves. I didn't actually adjust any of my valves. They're all within tolerance. So they get a plus or minus 1 thou. I use my tolerance. I didn't feel any need to loosen things and set anything in the center. Next time I check them, which will probably be in 20, 30,000 miles, I'll do that. Probably center them up at that point. And I also made a diagram to show what they were at present time, so I can look back and see if they changed at all when I do the new valve check. But the tool for the little wrench here, if you want the tool number, it's right here. 07908KE. K as in Karen, E as in Edward, 90200. And that is the part number for this wrench that you probably really don't need. However, the tensioner, I would recommend the Honda tensioner, and that's not coming from any other knowledge that I have or anything else, but this tensioner actually fits the grooves that are made into the bike. See those little notches right there? So when you spring tighten this and put tensioner to get the timing chain tensioner, this actually locks down inside the hole. There's grooves in the bolt hole that hold this and make it so it stays still. You can use other styles and tie a string. I know Fred Harmon used a string on one of the ones he had, but if you get the chance, I'd order this one. It's not cheap. It's about $100, unfortunately, for a little piece of steel. And the part number on that is 07, Z as in xylophone, M as in Megan, G as in Greg, M as in Mark, C as in car, A as in apple, A as in apple, 400. And that's the part number for the tensioner. And be forewarned, I will not lie. The worst part of this job for me was getting that little 8mm bolt, head bolt back in the tensioner hole, because it doesn't have any lead-in threads, so it just starts out right with threads. So you got to really be careful, and you can only get your fingers in there. Not an easy task, but if you got to do a valve inspection on a Honda, I would recommend, if you have the few tools and you got the whereabouts, I would try doing it yourself. If you're worried about removing the cam, okay, take it in somewhere. Luckily on mine, the cam didn't need to come out. I would have if I'd had to, but thankfully it didn't, which was nice. I don't have to worry about doing any torques on the heads, changing out any shims and the buckets. So pleased about that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and take the rest of the Sunday off. But I wanted to give you a heads up that doing a valve inspection on a Goldwing, not a horrible job if you have a little bit of mechanical background. So, all right, talk to y'all later.